Hello and welcome to another episode of Verse Talks. This one is a special episode. I say this every week, but this one is actually really special because I'm joined by an artist, Nikita Diakur. Welcome, Nikita, to Verse Talks. And the days that I'm joined by an artist are usually one of my favorite days because it gives me a chance to really dive deeper into the practice, but also learn a little bit more about the artists themselves. And I think, Nikita, you are like this incredible presence, I feel, on X. People know about you, they rate you, but I don't know how much everybody knows about you in depth. So I'm looking forward to unpacking that on this episode. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Leila. And if there's noise in the background, there's a construction site and the dog. My dog is running around.
Well, this sounds a bit like the ugly world, actually, that we're going to get into in a minute. Those sounds sound exactly what I would expect. Nikita, I've been looking at your bio, obviously, and the way I look at artists' works is by, this is horrible, but I scroll and the work pops up and it does something to my brain and it stays there and I see it somewhere else. Someone else posts it. Like, this is how work sits in my mind. And in my mind, I construct this reality about this artist. Like, this is an art world artist. This is somebody who lives in Berlin. This is kind of, I had this whole notion about who you are before I dug a little deeper into it. And then I read your bio and my goodness, I stopped counting after 40, but you received over 40 awards across all your films, Backflip and Ugly, I would say in particular. And so you're sort of, the film world seems to be your main world. And I wanted to ask you, how do you define yourself? Are you an artist? Do you define yourself as an artist or a filmmaker? And yeah, not that I see those separate from each other, but I'd be curious to know how you think of yourself.
Yeah, it's very difficult actually for me, it's very difficult to confine myself. And that's why I guess I have this in my bio that I just say ugly filmmaker. I think that's like two words that summarize it a little bit. Don't give away too much. And yeah, I don't know. I'm never sure what's my role here. I try to go with intuition a lot, and I think that's kind of very spontaneous with things, with the works, and also with the things that I do. So I think at some point I ended up being in the short film community and the animation community, filmmaking community, and then at some point ended up in like doing these clips that you found. And I think in the beginning, when I was in school, I was drawing a lot. I was painting. I was like, I don't know, that was my passion. And I think back then, that's when people were like, oh, okay, you might pursue a career as an artist or something.
So when did Ugly come about? So did this come about just after you finished university in London? Like, when did the ideas for it come about?
Yeah, Ugly came about around the time when I moved away from London. So I came to Mainz, and that was a very long phase when I was looking for just things to do, like finding
Well, I
myself.
just realized, I assume everybody knows what Ugly is, but like I was saying earlier, it's become, Ugly is a short film. It's about 12 minutes long. As I mentioned, won numerous awards. But it really struck a chord with people because of your very distinct aesthetics and compositions. And I guess what you're most well known for is exposing the digital imperfections, the things that we try to hide in order to create some kind of hyperrealism. Your work is like sort of the antithesis of that. It's about exposing imperfections of the medium and embracing them, embracing those aesthetics. And I think Ugly aesthetically does that, but also the storyline echoes some of those thoughts as well. Can you, before we get a little bit more into Ugly, talk about the storyline of it a bit more? Because your exhibition at Solos that we're holding at the end of the month here in London will be circling all around Ugly. So yeah, it'd be great to start by hearing actually what the storyline is.
Yeah, so it is based on a story, Ugly the Cat, and it's an anonymous story. At some point, actually, I found out the author. He contacted me at some point, and I was a bit worried that he might not like the film. He might probably didn't like it, but
because you found the story online, right, on like a forum.
yeah, and it actually said author unknown, and I was looking for it everywhere, and I couldn't find that person. But in the end, I found it online on a website that's called Inspirational Quotes, and that was because I was actually very desperate to looking for an idea. I just finished school, and I did a short film, and I went to a couple of festivals. And it was such a nice experience to just connect with filmmakers and have this kind of social thing after something is done, like having like sharing things with people. And it was a big motivator for me to do another film. But then I was when I was looking for an idea, it took like literally 3 or 4 years until I was desperate enough to just type in inspiration on the website on Google. And then inspirational quotes came up, and then there was the story of Ugly the Cat.
Which was, can you break it down? What was it? What was it?
It was a story about a cat who was really ugly. Yeah, you're laughing about it, but that was exactly my reaction also. So I was kind of not taking the story too serious. I was thinking it's about an ugly cat. People love cats, so let's do a film about cats. And it's also ugly cat, so I could do an ugly film, which could take me just very, like, I would not waste too much time. I would make it ugly, and all these things kind of appeared to me like a good idea back then. Right now, I know it was not a good kind of like starting.
But wait a minute, what was the storyline? So it was an ugly cat, and then tell us more, because no one liked this cat.
Yeah, so everybody hated that cat based on its looks, and people were just playing tricks on it. And the narrator of the story, it was the only person that actually saw something in that cat, like something more than just the looks. In the end, when that person decides to kind of take care of the cat, that's already too late, because I think it was just mauled by the neighborhood dogs, and it was basically on the verge of dying. And that's it. That's the story. So I felt like that's enough. That's like a good storyline to do a film. And then in that process of like researching the topic, the film, the just having the time, I was really cursing myself for actually approaching that idea like this, kind of like with
Why is that?
this jokey attitude. Because in the end, it's a very important kind of story. It's very contemporary. Like, many things are bad just because of these kind of attitudes. And
Yeah, I
I
know.
ended up
Yeah.
laughing about it, like we just did. And I was thinking, how can I tell that story in a way that we're not laughing about it, but actually take it serious? And it's weird because I would probably not come up with these kind of methods to tell a story that it actually speaks to me, but it somehow worked. And I think it's also because so much time passed and I put so much personal things into the film that it actually spoke to people like me and to people who would normally be put off by the kitsch.
But it's a story about outcasts, isn't it? It's about not being widely accepted. And I guess that's what you're saying. You felt that, yeah, I'm making a joke of it, but actually this is like, it has another layer of reality that we need to consider. Yeah, how do you feel like those kind of themes, do you feel like your film was suddenly taken a lot more seriously than you expected?
Yeah, I was actually surprised because I had no idea how the film would be perceived. I've never seen a film like that myself. And I was showing it to some people. I think my parents were the first ones to see it. It was a split reaction. I think my mom actually liked it a lot. Normally she doesn't. She's very kind of skeptical. And my father, the first thing that he said, I think he regrets it a little bit probably, but he said, "So this is what you spent 4 years on?"
Because it took you, actually, that's crazy, isn't it? It took you such a long time to create an 11-minute film.
Yeah, it was kind of strange because in the beginning I was thinking I'm going to do an ugly film. It's going to take really fast, but then it was the opposite in the end.
And what elements of it took you so long? Why did it take you so long?
I think in the end it was because the film kind of took its own, like it became its own kind of universe in a sense. There were so many takeaways. There was so many behind the scenes. There was, because everything was simulated. It was kind of like very everything had its own life in a sense. Like every scene played out many times. Every scene had a different story to tell. It was in the end like you're actually working with real alive beings, even though they come all from the computer, and you're interacting with them. So it's one world, and that I think that's what took so much time. Just me taking the time to kind of go in depth with every scene, not really going for the final result, but actually like working through it and seeing what else is there besides like the
But I
obvious,
think that's
like
what makes
the
the
besides the
film so
script in
powerful,
the end.
because each of the character feels so real, even though they look far from real. I mean, they're animations that purposefully don't look real. You know, they have angular compositions, they're unrendered. You know, everything is completely exposed. But there's such a, like, the way they move and the sounds around them are so relatable and so humane that you have this like incredible empathy for them, and you kind of feel the emotions that they go through. And I think that really comes through in your work. Can you speak a little bit, actually in more depth, about your process? Because I think that's exactly what you're known for. There's a great quote where you say, "When you work towards a predictable outcome, it can quickly get boring. A possible escape is to keep the process as accidental as possible." Um, I want to kind of hear from you. Do you feel like you have done that throughout the film? And can you speak a little bit more about your process? Because it does seem actually quite deliberate. So which parts are deliberate? Which parts are being accidental here?
Yeah, I think there's many things that kind of come together. One main thing is kind of be honest with the work that you do. Um, because if you're not, then I mean, there's no point, I think. And the other thing is kind of also keep um, like you need to take care of yourself as the maker. Like it's very as I think doing art has not really a purpose, and when you do art, you need to have very high motivation to do it. So if you lose that motivation, you cannot do art, and it happens very fast that you can lose it. So to me, it was very important to kind of keep that motivation going and just not to burn out. And I think I found for myself this approach to be the most organic, the most kind of fruitful in the end, because it gives you a lot back. It kind of helps you to stick with it and to be excited by what you do, to be surprised, to kind of keep that joy of creating things. Like when you were a kid, for example, when you do drawings as a kid, you never know what you're gonna like paint or draw or sculpt. And I think it's very difficult in the end when you grow up, when you get very skilled at things, to keep that surprise still like there. And to me, the process was to go with simulation, to have computer like a kind of like an equal partner who gives you something back, who gives you the surprise part back, and then you kind of bounce this ball of ideas back and forth until something comes out.
Can you explain that a little bit more, like the collaborate a bit? What does that really mean? So is it almost like you create these digital stage sets? And then, do I understand this right? It's almost like you create this like set almost, and the sets are in itself are really interesting because they are a combination of found footage, as well as your personal photography that you've taken from your neighborhoods, as well as animation, if I'm right. So there's like almost this like digital set, like stage set. And then you introduce the character, and the character obviously is something that you've been working on for years, and that's kind of, I want to talk about that too. Are they evolving over the years as well? Because now Ugly was first started in what year?
2013.
13, and we are now 12 years old. So actually, as almost as
12 years
old as
old.
my son Ilan. And he's getting pretty sassy. I don't know about
Whoa.
your characters, but yeah. So then you introduce the character, and then
Same.
and then is that right? Then you allow this like physics with physics simulation that it just, yeah, explain to me. This is the part that I'm finding hard to understand. The character, the scene is there, the character is there, but then how does the
Yeah.
rest come together? Which part is left to your computer as a collaborator?
Yeah, I can maybe do the example with the bungee jump from Fast. So we have these two people on the ground that do a barbecue. They're two friends in my mind. And they do the barbecue, and then I create the setup with the physics. So it reacts to collisions, to gravity, to wind, to turbulence, to all these things. And yeah, and then you basically just like dress it up. By dressing up, I mean like throw in the sausage on the barbecue and the steaks, and then one of them has a fork, and then he puts the fork into the steak, and then suddenly the computer decides, okay, I'm simulating this, but I don't have enough data, so I'm just gonna like make this steak jump on the fork or like glitch. And then okay, I'm me as a director, I'm saying, okay, I guess I can live with that. Give that steak to your friend, and then the friend reaches, and they're both marionettes. That's how I construct them. So they hang on these.
I was just gonna say the wires is also something that I feel like is very like distinct to your work. You leave them exposed because they are like marionettes.
Yes, initially in the original film in Ugly, they were not. So everything was rendered, and there was one scene when everything falls apart, when there's the apocalypse, and that's when the wires get exposed, when it's like a middle stage of the world. And I think at some point I was like, okay, why do I hide the actual like part where the characters exist, including the wires, including the springs, and that's why now the wires are always in. And yeah, back to these guys. So they share the barbecue, and then in the same scene, there's supposed to be a girl who is being thrown off a building in the bungee, like this swing bungee, and she's supposed to collide with these two friends on the ground. And when she collides, so I basically played, I don't know, 50 times until it actually happens. And then things start to happen which I never predicted, like as a director. So for example, the one of the sausages is stuck in the hand, in the actual arm. Everything's just a big mess. And the girl is swinging in the background, and one of the friends just lifts up the arm and presents what has happened, and then they just look at each other. And I never predicted any of that, and it was not meant to be funny or anything, but it just becomes funny by itself because basically the computer decided to make it funny. And what I do is just create this setup where things can happen, just give it room to happen. The other setup was the latest, the one with the leaves, the three ventilators that are representing kind of like this tornado storm, and the leaves are a reference to the back scene from the film American Beauty. And so what I do is I'm basically creating a setup for these ventilators to rotate in certain ways, and I can manipulate that. But how the bag is rotating, how the bag is flying around with aerodynamics, etc., how the leaves are flying around the bag is all accidental.
And of course, the world of Ugly. So Ugly was, yes, a film to start with, but it kind of became a world building. No, would you say that's true, Nikita? Is it sort of expanding in that way? I've seen some images of ugly merch. I don't know how far you want to take that. Yeah, how do you feel about ugly right now?
Yeah, I think the merch part was because we had no money to do the film, so we had a Kickstarter campaign back then, and I was selling T-shirts and vinyls and
What about the ugly cat?
yeah, the
I
ugly
want
cat was
one.
also there. Yeah, actually, my parents got it. They supported the film. I think we had about like 11 of them. It was actually it was a big collective effort by many friends. It was a friend of mine, Melle. She made the cats. But besides that, I think the world, it's kind of there. It's on my computer. And I think that's when we started talking. And I was telling you that I have this, like, I called it the treasure box. And um, because, yeah, it is kind of like hidden underground somewhere in the computer, in the depths. And it's just all these setups which were never really um, prepared for other things, and they're just dreaming. They're in the computer, and I'm slowly waking them up one by one.
I think title is still TBC, but potentially ugly. What's the title, the potential title right now? Did we say
The
ugly
potential title. I think
memories
we had
or
what did you call it?
ugly memories?
Ugly
Because they
memories.
are
Yeah,
from
ugly
your treasure
memories. Yeah.
box. And they are, I suppose, scenes that couldn't be included in the film because with every film and storyline, there's only so much you can put in there in order to tell your story. And I thought that was such a lovely thing when you brought that up because I think there is a whole, like, it feels almost like we've seen a snapshot of Ugly in that 11 minutes, but there's, to me, a whole world that it represents. And I was really keen on bringing that back to life and bringing all those elements into an exhibition. So we are showing them in London in an exhibition, and it's taken you a long time. So even though you have the works, as you said, they were sleeping in your treasure boxes, but it's actually taking you quite a long time to present them as works. Can you explain why, Nikita? What do you do process wise to them to make them fit for display?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I really love doing sound, and I think with sound, these scenes, they kind of wake up. It gives them life somehow, and so that's what I like to do. It's just again, like, going back to why I do the things that I do is also because I like to do it, and I just like to do this. Like, maybe it's kind of like framing them, like giving them a frame and displaying them. Because if I just take the scene as it is, it's very raw. So what I do is I take the scenes, I look what else is there. Like, for example, the 1200 Lada donut. It was initially just an accident. It was me projecting a texture onto the car, and then the car suddenly drove off and the texture was gone, and the car was just a wireframe. So in the end, I was thinking that it's actually like a nice metaphor for many things, and why don't I also like paint a donut underneath and then do a sound, put a bridge there, make a bit of echo, and then suddenly it has an atmosphere, and then this sketch suddenly becomes a story in itself.
So they're little snippets of this world. And you just mentioned that you really like to get into sound, and that is such a key aspect of your work. I mean, I'm thinking right now of your first exhibition on Verse, which was a release in January 2024 that Ivan brought to Verse, actually.
I think making an egg with hands.
Brilliant work. And that piece, it's like, of course, it's the visuals, but also the sounds are such a big part of it. And it's similar in a piece that we have in this particular exhibition that I think you just finished. I believe it's called Doorway. It's just somebody looking out a window. And honestly, it's the most, you could almost say, a banal thing. It's somebody looking out the window, but you can feel the wind. You can feel it's like a summer's night. You hear the wind chimes. There's something so special in the complete simplicity of this thing not looking anything human, but you relate so much to the feeling of that scene, you know? And I think that is something, yeah, you mentioned atmosphere, that I think you create very well. How do you create that atmosphere? That must be one of the hardest thing to, because we know the digital tools can simulate realism very quickly, but it's the feeling, like the atmospheric feelings that are harder to convey. And what are your magic ingredients for making that happen?
I think it's living through things, and I think it's like experiences, and I think it's also the people that look at the work and actually connect with it is because they experience this kind of scene somewhere. And for me, creating it is just like to come as close as possible to this experience with the tools that I have, and the tools are just like everybody has these tools. It's like, I don't know, 3D software, it's light, it's sounds, it's animation, it's movement, or lack of movement. And in the end, can we come close to like our past or our like memories with the work? And can my memories also connect to somebody else's memories, or not even memories, but some kind of associations and or like interpretations? And I think that's when a work is actually resonating, like this one. But I also have many failed experiments. I have many things which where I just take a risk, and I just don't know if it's going to resonate. And I think in the end, you have to do it. You have to just like go with the guts, and then just see do your works actually connect or not. And that's where the honesty also comes in. You cannot make a work for somebody else. You have to make a work um, first, a work that you can stand behind, and then if it resonates with other people, then great. But um in the beginning, I think art is just like for no one really. I think it's just there for itself.
I like that because there's so much controversial talk about, can art change the world and does it change the world? And this morning I just scrolling through my Instagram, there were a bunch of posts about, can art change, like one of them said, can art save the ocean? I'm like, okay, now we're pushing it. I'm not sure we can.
Yeah, I think that's activism, or like, I don't know, or yeah, it's a different thing. You can probably,
There's
there's
overlaps. I mean,
probably
like
like
thinking about Ugly itself, it's about a
overlaps.
world of characters. Well, first of all, outcasts, so people who are not accepted by by mainstream, and they're living in a kind of stuck system and very urban dystopian environment. And it's kind of a, it's got, there's overall it's tough conditions, but somehow it feels like a very positive story. Is there, I mean, we're saying art's not changing the world, but it definitely is giving a message here.
Yeah, I mean, art is definitely like political. It might not have a like a purpose, but it is political. And I think everybody, like, always, I mean, you cannot escape it in the end. You have to put yourself in there.
Or if people walk away with, taking that message, almost, it's not that's different, right? If I walk away with taking away that message, it's very different than you claiming to say, I'm here to make a point about disadvantaged individuals.
I try not to like impose things in the works. I try not to like make people laugh about things. I try not to make them like get a message or something. When I tried to do it in the past, it's usually when the works became weaker in a sense. But then that doesn't mean that there is no like personal input in it. It's very like I try to put as much as possible, but not impose it on others in a sense. I don't know if it makes sense.
I want to talk a little bit about how you ventured into, so you're a filmmaker, things are going swimmingly for you in the film world. And how did you end up with works on the blockchain and selling NFTs, basically. How did that all come about?
Yeah, it was very weird. I think it was in the pandemic in 21, beginning of 21. There was one WhatsApp group where we were just like sharing job opportunities between each other. And then somebody mentioned NFTs, and I was researching it briefly, and I was like, "This looks interesting, a bit complicated." I had nothing to do with blockchain. I obviously knew what like Bitcoin is and all that stuff, but I never came in touch with it. And then at some point, I got contacted out of nowhere by a curator from Super Rare.
How had they found your work? Like via Instagram or?
I think on Instagram they found it. Yeah, that was kind of like coming in through the back door because I was just lucky, and I put in that scene with the two barbecue friends.
It's a great piece.
Yeah, and I picked it because I kind of liked it. It's one of my favorite scenes, but also it felt like most like I didn't really care. Like if people like it, then I guess that's my place. That's like then I'm gonna continue doing this crypto thing. But if people don't like it, then it's just not me because that I basically put a very personal thing there, and then it just like blew over my head the first sale, and I was like, okay, wow, that's it's crazy. And then I put another one which was very important to me, which was the rave, and that one also was good. But then I kind of very fast realized that the art world is very tricky, and people are caring for like very like things that I never thought about, and that I cannot just like put things out blindly because I put my avatar at that point who was doing a rave, and then people were like, oh, okay, it's a different style, so is he still taking it serious, this whole like journey. um but I was also felt it's important to kind of show the whole. I didn't want to be pinpointed to one thing, and yeah.
So then you just fell into it. And did you kind of start connecting with collectors? Did you get into that whole aspect of the culture in Web3?
I think what kept me in the space also was that the people were actually quite nice. Like at least the bubble that I was in was very nice. Like the people were friendly, and I mean, when you ask people outside, like outside of the scene, they would normally like be quite reserved towards everyone here. And I was also quite reserved in the beginning, but then when you actually get to know the people, you see that they have a very like positive approach to things. Then you kind of feel that it's something worth pursuing in the end. And I was lucky to have kind of nice people to good people to collect the art so far. I think that's also the difference between traditional art and crypto art, because with crypto art, many times you don't really know who's going to collect your art. You don't really know, are they good people or not? Is it a good place for your piece or not? Because with traditional art, especially when it's a physical and it can be just like be burned, like also crypto things can be burned, but like this one can be physically burned. Like who's gonna have that piece? And because you put so much effort in it, you have basically like laid your soul into the work, and then
Yeah. And I suppose your work is born in the digital, so it makes sense to also keep it in the digital rather than packaging it up as something physical. Though, while I say that, we are showing it in a physical display, but I think that is quite important as well. And you did have an exhibition with Colección Solos 6, 7, 8 months ago. Can you talk a little bit about that exhibition?
yeah, it was very. I think they actually contacted me to do a commission, and we're still gonna do a commission. I think in the beginning of next year.
I heard some rumors of what it is, and it sounds very ambitious.
Yeah, it started off just like very non-ambitious, kind of. I mean, it's always, and then it just like grows out of proportion, like the same as with the one that we had with them. When was it? In November. It was down only, and down only was it just combined everything. Like I think it was the most complicated project that I ever did. It was a big team, like big team for my kind of standards. It was, I think, like 10 of us, and everybody had a part to play where nobody else could like help them with that part, and we were just hoping that all the pieces come together in the end, which it did in the very last second, and it worked. But it was a huge struggle and close to burnout everyone.
Was that your first like proper physical exhibition of your artworks, Nikita?
I think
Hmm.
officially probably the first one on that scale and personal, and also an installation. And I mean, it combined installation, web, and crypto, and um, maybe a little bit of performance and live streaming and all of that. So it was
But it
just a
sounded like it
mess.
went well in the end, from what I hear. I thought it sounded pretty like last
Yeah,
minute. I
it
spoke to
collapsed.
Elena
Everything
about it from
collapsed.
Collection Solo, and she was like, "Onto the last second, we were bringing things together." And
They were really great. I mean, they're the Collection Solo. They're amazing. Like what they went through with us, and they literally
yeah,
get out of their way to like help.
I think, I think I've mentioned this before, but like I see them as one of the very rare, like serious patrons of the arts. Like, again, I saw an article earlier today that said, "Are they all dying out?" The patrons of the art, because it's becoming more rare that you see people who just do it because they love the art. So, and I think they definitely are one of those. Um, Yes. Well, I was wondering if so the exhibition opens in London on the 29th. It's a Tuesday, so forgive me if I'm getting the date wrong. We're installing on the 28th and we're opening on the 29th. And there will be a handful of works. There's not going to be a lot of works. There's going to be under 30 works that are going to be, as we said earlier, from earlier developments of the world of ugly. I was wondering if you have anything to give away yet to people who are listening. Which particular scenes? We spoke about one scene, but what other scenes you chose to work on and why?
Yeah, I think so far we have 5 ready. Um, so it's a marathon. Yeah, it's called Memories so far, the working title, maybe even the final title. But yeah, it goes in all sorts of directions. We have the animals, so we have a bit of wildlife. We have a pigeon. We have some flies. um, some butterflies. I'm still kind of like not knowing which one is going to be a sketch and which one is going to be like a final work. Definitely going to be
Yeah.
exhibiting the ones that you've seen: the doorway, the donut, the vacation, the Doberman, the fire. Um, I think those are set, and then I'm just gonna like work my way towards it, and then see how many we can get done. There's the Arch Noah,
Oh,
which you
that's
liked.
brilliant. I love that one.
Try to like finish that one. There's the love scene on the beach. Um, that one I need to prepare, maybe, I don't know. And then what else is there? The hot dogs that you put as a image. I mean, those I can get ready. Maybe the cigarette, because the person that's standing on the balcony is actually smoking a cigarette, and there's a close up of the cigarette, which I kind of liked. It's kind of like the fire. Which else? The ice cream truck. There's the other another Lada projection mapping where you kind of see the backside of the car,
But
which I like.
why did you make the choices on those pieces? Because I mean, presumably your treasure box is quite big, and they didn't make it into the film. But why did you go back to particularly to those scenes?
Mm, I think because they all kind of stand for one side of just the whole thing, like the projection. I think to me it's very important to kind of show that there's two sides of every object. There's the side which looks kind of alright, and the other side which is messed up. And that's why the Lada projection, the the other, not the donut one, but the other one is there. And Pigeon, I mean, Pigeon is always good. I think it's just one of my favorites. I think I cannot leave it out. And the other one is actually my profile that I'm always using, the vacation one. I think it's mainly also about just which one I like, which one I think are nice, and the same with the doorway. I think the doorway was just curtains and it was completely unfinished, but I felt like it has some potential, and so now it's done, and I feel like okay, that was worth it. And I feel with these other works that some of them have potential. For example, I don't know, the flies, they're very simple, but I just like the simplicity of the setup and how it works, and how it shows.
There is a great film also you've made, Fly, that's on your website.
Fly in the window, yeah.
Fly in the Window. I love that one. That's such a great. What did you do with that one?
That one was my graduation film from the RCA. That was the film actually that motivated me to keep doing films. I mean, not the film itself, because I mean, it's a film that I did many, many years ago, and it's still a student film. I went to festivals, and I think that's when I kind of connected with the scene, the film scene.
It's such a strong film because you really are. What's incredible is that you really see the world through the character. I felt like I'm in his flat. I see, like, this is what I'm saying. There's something so simple about just seeing a fly on the window that somehow connects something in your brain about something very personal. Like, you've been there, you're trying to say, where's that sound coming from? You're going towards one thing, you get distracted doing something else. And it's like, it's so relatable. It's incredible. Everybody should watch it. It's really brilliant.
No, I never thought this film will have a life past 2010.
Well, 2025, here we go. Everybody should watch it. It's great. And in fact, I think maybe we should mint it one day. It's brilliant. It really is good. Well, yes. And I think the way the works are being displayed, I think is going to be quite great. Anybody who's in London should RSVP and join us. And Nikita is going to be in London. So anybody who wants to be meeting Nikita, but also he's going to say a few words about his work while he's there. It'd be great to see everyone. And yes, other than that, what's next, Nikita?
As I said in the beginning, is very spontaneous. Everything. I'm not really. I mean, yeah, I have some things planned out, but I'm trying to kind of dig myself through everything. I mean, it's all fun. It's all fun, but it's also like there's so many real life things that I'm also need to take care of. Like I have a dog that I always do 3 times a day, and we go out and need to cut the dog's hair because it's getting out of hand. It's a cockapoo, and it just grows exponentially. So I need to free up the eyes so it sees something. That's what's next.
I love that. This is inspirational for any artist who's out there. Nikita's next artistic plans are to cut the cockapoo's hair and to do the taxes. I mean,
I'm actually very proud of these things. Sometimes when they're done, then I'm looking at them and I'm like, wow, that's
I can do life. I can do life. Can I ask you, does the film making and you being a director, I actually never let you answer that question. Classic. So bad. Sorry about that. Is it like, do you see yourself kind of, when you think about what's next, is on your mind, well, I should really think about my next film, and, or do you think I should think about an art, like an exhibition? Which one is first? Which one is secondary? Or are they both kind of on the same level?
I think they're both kind of equal to me. And what I try to do is not to do everything at the same time, because I cannot really like do things parallelly. So when I do one thing, I really just like dive into it, and because that's when it gets good normally. And if I do things just halfway next to each other, then it gets not as good. So that's why I'm just like right now I'm focusing on the exhibition, on these works, and then afterwards I'm gonna focus on something else. I think there's one more coming up by the end of the year with which is connected with Backflip, the film Backflip, which will be quite nice. And then I'm gonna do actually a documentary about sonideros in Mexico. But that one I've been planning for a long time, and it's just like so it's a lot of material already collected, but it needs to be also structured, and a lot of time needs to go into that also.
It's been a delight to speak to you. Thank you so much for making the time, and I look forward to welcoming you when you come to London. Anybody who is in London, please, join us. I already extended that invitation. But other than that, thank you so much for listening. And thank you, Nikita, for being here and telling us about your work. And I imagine that, everybody will really enjoy being like seeing the world of ugly again. It feels great that it has like this ongoing like world that keeps living. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
No, I feel very blessed that you guys decided to like give it another life to these works.
I think it's going to be really beautiful. Yeah. I look forward to it. Well, thank you so much, Nikita. And thanks so much for listening. And until next time.